guys, welcome to Arkshow. Today we're going to be giving you a how-to on Tower Defense Dispair, also known as TD3. There are, out of the three tower defenses, this one has the biggest differences as far as there's even more things that you have to pay attention to in order to have a good, successful run. Wes, why don't you tell us what you're doing right here, right as soon as you spawn it?
I always start off crystal farming. The reason being is I usually have some type of caster as my off class, so I can use Ilzande. That lets me fly across the air pretty fast, and it gives me an advantage at farming crystals. Now, farming crystals is important in TD3, the reason being you're going to want to activate your AISs or your mechs, and in order to do that you have to have first 2,500 crystals, and then I believe it's
6,000 and then 10,000.
Yeah, so we have to have enough crystals so we can, depending on how good the group is, you don't necessarily need all three of your mechs, but it makes the run a lot more smoother. The ideal is to collect as many crystals as fastly as you can. You don't want to compete for crystals though, because that's counterproductive. If you have three people competing for the crystals in the same corner, that's not helping. Those other two people can be doing something else. So the ideal is when I start off, I use Ilzande, get in front of people, and they know that I'm going to be a faster crystal farmer than them. There are other people who are faster, such as fighters, or even fighters with an off class as a caster, such as attacker or force, and that way they can use their dash as well as they can use their Ilzande. So I just zap from side to side trying to get those crystals. I usually end up in the top three most of the time. That's not necessarily important though. That just shows that I contributed through crystals. People seem to think that you need to get in the top three to get good gear or good glue. But that's not necessary at all. It's mainly there to show who has the bigger EP, but it does feel good being in the top three. So if you're aspiring to be a crystal farmer, keep in mind you're going to want to be the class that crystal farms well. You don't necessarily want to be a hunter with no abilities that helps you go faster trying to crystal farm. As of earlier this month, episode 3 released and you're able to run faster. And I've found that that's actually a bit more productive than using Ilzande, is just running constantly, because every time you use Ilzande it then slows you down. Just figure out whatever you want to do in order to crystal farm. If you're not a good crystal farmer, if you're 70-70 and you do a lot of damage, I would highly recommend you go for the mobs and just defend the bases. Very similar to TD1 in that aspect.
Because otherwise it's just going to be wasted talent. And he makes a good point with the episode 3 and the moving faster. If you're looking at this and you're like, man, Drankz is moving pretty slow, this was recorded pre-episode 3 patch.
And most importantly, those towers that you see right now, those pop up, and those should be first priority as long as you're not already in front of a group of mobs killing them. If you're crystal farming, they have very little health. They're basically photon cannons for the enemy team. You don't want those to attack your bases because, as you know, a photon cannon can do significant damage to a group of mobs or take off a quarter of the life of a Vibris, and you don't want that coming towards your base. So get to them as soon as possible, beat them down, make sure they're not able to go off. There's also going to be flying spaceships that are corrupted. If you need to Z-target those, if you're a ranger or braver with a bow, or even if you're a caster, you can Z-target them. You want to get those out of the air as soon as possible, because if you have those shooting at your towers, that's no good either.
Another important enemy to take out, going kind of backtracking to those Darkers cannons, tower things, whatever the hell they're called. The casting Darkers that kind of look like, I guess, wizards of some sort. They are the ones that spawn those towers, so it's very important to kill those two because they will infect those circles that Drankz just walked over. The ones that you use to activate your IES and defense sockets. That's what they're called.
And you're gonna, every time you go over an infected defense socket, assuming you have enough crystals to activate the cleansing of one, you're going to want to do that. Because the more there are that are infected, the higher chance there is for the photon lasers from the Darkers to pop up. Which, once again, they're easy to take down, but you don't want to have to run halfway across the board for them when you can continue doing what you're doing. So
Right.
If you're just casually walking over one, take a quick second, activate it, make sure it cleanses it, and then be on your way. The whole ideal here is teamwork. There's 12 of us for a reason. It's not a one-person team. You shouldn't have to carry the group. What?
Just sounds like something that was said in another video by a very smart player of some sorts on a certain YouTube channel.
To be fair, I did watch the TD1 episode not too long ago, so I might be getting a little of my stuff off that.
But it is a very good reminder if you haven't seen the TD1 video that I did. Drankz brings up a really good point here. You can't be running around the entire map. TD3 is an even bigger map than TD1. And so it's, don't sit there and protect green, and then if somebody's spawning all the way over at purple, don't be like, shit, I gotta go all the way there. No, you don't. Find something else to do that where you're not moving, like how Drankz just did here with the crystals. Instead of going over to purple, and then by the time you get there, they already have it under control, and then, oh shit, there's this huge mob coming from the screen where you just were. Be what's efficient without moving around the most, so to speak. You can't crystal farm, kill people, and heal towers, and purity. You can't do it all. It's just like you said, there's 12 people for a reason.
And even though it's not your main priority to do everything, you do want to do a little of everything. If you're walking past a tower that's severely damaged and you have your health boost still active, go ahead and drop one of those real quick. It's not going to take too much time, maybe a few seconds. If you have an infection on a tower, pop a burst barrier. As long as there's not someone there covering it and you're not undermining what they're doing. Just be proactive. You don't want to walk past something like, for example, like green right now, there's an infection. I'm walking towards it, but they're probably going to have it handled by them. But just in case there's crystals around, I'm crystal farming, I can drop a burst barrier or help them attack it. And at this point, we got it done faster than me wasting a burst barrier. But there's still those crystals that are laying around for me to farm, so I'm being proactive and helping the team. We're a unit rather than 12 individual people. We need to work together.
I concur, my good sir.
As far as the mechs are concerned, you're going to have 3 mechs, 3 turrets, and 3 photon cannons. I use the photon cannons every once in a while, just 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th round to get some walls down if nothing else is available. Mech suits, I usually wait until either the dark blue crystals or the purple crystals pop up in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round. The more mech suits at the end, the better. People will generally pop in a mech suit throughout the battle because it needs to happen. But that's just to progress it to the end. If you have 3 mech suits for the last 2 rounds, you can use 1 in the second to last round and 2 at the end. And you're going to do a lot more coverage than you would if you were using them at the beginning of the game, because it does get very hard towards the end. It's been out for quite a while now, so people are getting the hang of it, but I, every once in a while, still end up in a random group where people just haven't figured it out. So this video is just to give a quick idea of how that all works. We don't want people to fail. It sucks when you're in a 29-minute group and then you don't get what you're going for. You're going there for fat loots and hopefully some executes at the end, or even some items you can use. You don't want to be the person that fails or be the group that fails after you've been at it for 29 minutes.
And then not getting to camp trip in time.
Right.
That's happened a couple times, especially the first couple of nights of this being live.
I've never had the feeling of someone pissing in my Cheerios more than losing a TD3 and then missing out on the second run because the group was just terrible. Also, walls. If you're in a mech suit, tear down the walls in the corners. Those walls in the corners prevent most of the crystal farming, and that crystal farming is very important to getting the next mech suits. So if you're in a mech suit and someone's already covering all the bases and someone's covering all the mob spawning, don't compete to kill mobs. The points really aren't that important. Take down the walls. I believe you still get points for taking down walls, but then you're opening up areas for people to farm crystals.
He's right. You still do get points because your points are based off of the crystals you collect and the damage that you give. I didn't mention this in the TD1 video, but it's a combination of both. Your obviously damage numbers are showing up when you're destroying those walls, so it definitely does count towards those points.
I mean, you can do a significant amount of damage as a 70-70 attacking the walls, but it's much more efficient for someone in a mech suit doing 28k with his katana 3 times in a row to a wall compared to a hunter doing 5k 3 times in a row to the wall. You can normally take down a wall in a few seconds, get past it. You can even pick up the crystals in the mech suit, just run back there, pick up all the crystals, zoom to the next corner. Always take down the walls in the middle as well, because then it's more difficult for people to get through. If green's under attack and you're at purple in the opposite corner and there's 3 walls in your way, hopefully there shouldn't be 3 walls in your way. Someone in a mech should have taken care of that already. Also, if you're in a mech suit, you can Z-target to the flying ships, and you can help get rid of those. Those flying ships are very damaging. They take out groups of people. They take out entire towers. And while you're trying to attack a boss, you're avoiding mines on the ground or aerial assaults. So it's always important to take care of all the peripherals. I mean, the mech suits are there for a reason. It's not so you can stroke your enormous internet penis by getting a high point. If you do it right, you will get high points and you'll end up first, second, or third. But that's just a product of you being a good player. So make sure you're always working your hardest to help the group. It's not all about you and your points, because they mean nothing if your group fails.
Yeah, there's no titles. There's it doesn't increase the rare drops, and I mentioned that in the TD1 video as well. What affects your drop rates is right there underneath your map on the right side of the screen. There, it's the overall health. Excuse me, that was launchy. Of all 4 towers combined. You know, the higher it is, and you notice that affects your rank too at the end of the quest. But it all correlates with your rank, your overall health, and your actual loot at the end. You know, it's all tied together. Now, Drankz did mention here. Keep doing that. But the crystals did change. They're blue now. I'm trying to remember which wave is which. I think 4 and 5 they turn blue. No, 4, 5, and 6 they turn blue, and then they're purple for 7 and 8. So they're going to be 20 points, I think, when they're blue, and I think 30 points when they're purple.
That's right. It goes 10 for the just teal-colored ones, 20 for the dark blue ones, and then for the purple ones, it's 30 points. And as I said earlier, you take down the walls. I'm about to demolish this wall, and as I get past it, there's 3 crystals back here. That's already 120 or 90 points, and there's a 4th one, so that's 120 points. And then taking down the wall, I got points too. So you're going to get the points if you're just doing what you need to do. Taking down walls is one of the most important things you can do in a mech suit. And since there's already going to be people either out of mech suits or in mech suits taking down mobs, you don't really need to go in there and interfere with that. Just do what you need to do. If there's not someone covering a section, run over there and do it. It's always good to help with the boss if everything else is good. As you can see, there's a wall in front of me that I should be going for. So don't use this exact example, but you know, if you can help people on the way, pick up crystals on the way. And in the mech suit, you are going to be the most effective crystal farmer because you can dash across the board. You don't necessarily need to always be crystal farming in a mech suit. In fact, that's also counterproductive because then you're not getting down walls, you're not helping the group. All you're doing is raising the crystal score. But taking down the walls, like I said, is the most important because look at all that value back there. You're going to help get to the next mech suit. Also, the mech suit has a neat function where you're able to use a photon cannon from it. That's very important. If there's no mobs, obviously go for the boss. If there's a group of mobs, you rather take out 10, 15 mobs in a corner than do quarter of 100,000 damage to a boss. So just keep that in mind. Always do what's better for the team.
You know, speaking of what's best for the team, Wes, we should also probably do what's best for the viewer and not make him sit here and watch all 25 to 30 minutes of TD3. I mean, you know, we have covered most points.
That is true, Idola, and I think that's a great idea.
So, we'd like you to like, comment, subscribe, share it all your friends because that's what we're here for, is to benefit the overall player base and improve everybody and, you know, show somebody, you know, everybody can stand to learn something new. You know, we're going to be doing these videos on EQs, on tips, tricks, and how-tos, and we hope to have at least one new episode every week. So, until next time, I'm Idola.
And I'm Drankz.
And you've been watching Arkshow.
Yeah, this is Arkshow. Good show, Idola.
Watch it! Peace.